And welcome to the Overland Podcast. We are live with you here, and we are fixing to go live on Instagram as well. I have my lovely wife with me this evening, and
Hi,
very special guest. Tony is actually
baby
getting
Peach.
ready. Oh, and Peach. Peach is
Yes.
with us too. Tony's actually getting ready for a big week with the Budget Overland crew, and so they're fixing to head into the Ozarks Wednesday through Sunday, and are going to experience some amazing weather. I hope they have a great time.
It's
But he's getting
gorgeous.
ready for that, so we gave him the night off, and I invited my lovely bride, who's on the opposite end of the house, to come and share with us a little bit about our travels and your perspective. And some of this may be news to me. I don't know. We talk a lot. We share a lot of stuff. We spend a lot of time in the car together. Um, so it's
We
kind of
have
funny.
supper together every night,
We
almost
do.
every night.
We do. It's kind of funny when I'm at work on Fridays. The front office ladies kid me and they're like, "Where are you going this weekend? Utah?" And I'm like, "No, we're not driving to Utah for the weekend." It's like, "Well, you could." And I was like, "Yeah, we could. We'd get there and turn around and have to come right back." But um, anyway, we have been on several different trips now. We've been together for a while now. You're kind of an old hand at this, so
I'm an
I want to get
expert.
your an expert. That's right. I want to get your
Not so
perspective.
much of an expert where I was like, when we were camping last weekend at what was it, the hippie hole, where I said,
Yeah,
if something happened, I don't know how it would get us out of here.
yeah. We probably need to work on that, but yeah, we'll get to work on that. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I was
Well,
excited because I knew that I could put down everything. Like I knew I could pack up the trailer myself. I know I could get the clam all done. Like everything I could pack up. I just wasn't sure I could drive us out of there.
yeah. Well, it was a pretty good jaunt to get down in there where we were, but I think you can do it if you put your mind to it. And two or three
Yeah.
tries and a couple bent fenders. I think you'd be able to do it just fine.
And you might be, where's the trailer? And I would say it's back at the hippie hole.
Yeah, if you could figure out how to take it off the
Unhook it.
vehicle. Oh man! Well, thank y'all for joining us. You are live here on the Overland Podcast. Thank you for being with us. Here we go.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Overland Podcast. We're excited to be here. We're coming to you live as we do each week, bringing you the latest in all things outdoors and overlanding. The live show contains listeners, so join us with your comments and questions. Here we go. No pros, just bros on this show.
Well, it's not bros this week. It's just bro and
And
the wife. Bro and
I
the
was
wife. We'll
gonna
go with
throw
that.
it in.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that. I am sitting here having an amazing cup of Joe that I fixed. I fixed you some as well.
Yes, and my new Brew Trek French
Yeah,
press with
Brew
a
Track
handle.
French press. I got my Brew Track French press. Love it as well.
Hmm.
This week I'm having some Canyon Craig. Enjoy some Canyon Craig from Logic Overland. I don't know if you've had any Craig. It is offer notes of cinnamon, vanilla, and hints of the mocha.
It is delicious. I love
It is
Canyon Craig. I
delicious.
love sneaking his coffee when he's got that.
It's so good. It really helps me get through the day and the night and the morning and all that. So it's really good. So anyway, Galen's on here. I don't know where Galen is. Galen joins us from like North Dakota and then Kansas and then different places like that. So Galen, thank you for joining us from wherever you are. We appreciate it. But anyway, I wanted to invite you to come on here.
Thank
I
you.
visited with Tony about coming on, and he said, "Man, I got so much to do." And Tony's he's kind of heading this thing up with Budget Overland. He's planned all the routes, so they kind of depended on him, to lead them out. So he's got to pack all his stuff, make sure he's got the route and stuff. So he had a lot to get done. And so anyway, um, I thought about having you on and starting from the beginning and
Yes.
talk about a few of the places that we've been and then get your perspective about your experience as doing what we do from a female's
Yes.
perspective. So I want to share with everybody this is the very first thing I told her. So we're getting ready to go to Santa Fe. It was our very first trip together. We were going to do this over Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We won't get into the whole part about her inviting herself to go or anything like that. It was just, it ended up like, okay, we're going to Santa Fe. And so I was real excited. She was real excited. And nobody can read your lips if they're listening on podcast. So anyway, the very first thing I did was went up about, it's probably about 2 weeks before we were to leave. And I carried her a box. And I said, okay, here's the deal. We have uh, a long way to go. We're going to be there for just a few days, and we do not have unlimited amount of space in the FJ. So everything you take must fit in this box. And
That's my
how did that go over?
It was fine because I'm used to not packing everything.
That's my
It
box.
was that's not Santa Fe. And
That's
this
her
was
box.
these
That's
and
my.
these pictures were taken
That's her box.
when I was in the middle of packing. He had finished packing and I was still in the middle of sorting everything. So that is like taking pictures of somebody when they made their bed and the person who's in the process of making the bed. It's different.
It is a little different. Everything is there, and we had this discussion last week about guys who are neat and orderly. You walk by their rig, you walk by their campsite, neat, orderly. They know where things are. They know where things are. And then there's those guys who look like they stood 50 feet away and threw everything
Threw
that they
everything
had
in the back.
into their vehicle and their trailer.
It's
So
so funny.
two different kinds of people, but whatever floats your boat.
Okay. Um, Fitting everything into the box was not a challenge. It was just that I think one of the things that I love about overlanding is you're never really sure where the day may take you and what kind of activities, because you may be overlanding in a place where one day you are in a really remote area and then the next day you decide let's drive into town for a little bit. So I was struggling with just the trying to pack for all eventualities. Are we going to be hiking? Are we going to be in the car? When are we going to be going through town? Are we going to have a datey date where I want
Mm,
to look cute?
mm,
Because
that's
ladies,
real. That's
we
important.
we wanna we may not necessarily be wearing our hiking clothes on our dating dates.
Okay.
So, that was just I mean, just winnowing down all the clothes and deciding what I wanted to take was a challenge, but I I like I don't like overpacking. It's something that it's easy for it to happen,
Hmm.
but it is such a hassle to have too much stuff with you and just it's spilling out of everything.
Right.
So I'm not so I appreciated the challenge and I knew it was a challenge. It was one of the hurdles. It was like, let's see if this girl really is marriage and dating material and see what she does with this box. I did a
Yeah.
very good job of fitting everything in the box.
You did a great job. You
And
did a
there was
great
only
job.
one outfit that I ended up not wearing because we didn't go on any datey dates at night. And so I'd had an outfit
Right.
that was a little bit too fancy for the stuff that we did.
Well, I think you did a great job for your first time.
Oh, thank
Uh, I really don't know if you've gotten better since then because you started off really on a high level. So, it's really hard to say that you've improved in your packing because it's pretty much been the same every time, because you don't know what to take. You don't know what you're going to do. Everything's kind of up in the air because I don't know that we've ever had a schedule when we've went anywhere.
No,
Probably Santa Fe was probably the most structured of the times that we've went anywhere.
And
And
even
so,
then, it wasn't like it was structured, it was just that we'd gone through and each of us had just a few things of in order for us to really feel like we'd gone on this trip, what were the essentials? And so I know that both of us mentioned bandolier and some other like you mentioned Old Town and I mentioned there was, oh, Chimayu, that was what you really wanted to go
mm,
to Chimayu. And so there were a
mhm,
couple of things that each of us had found that we'd put on the list of like, but we hadn't necessarily planned the day out exactly. And then when we went up to Michigan, there were certain things that I was like, these are the things that I want to make sure that we hit together so that you really get a taste of Michigan, like
mm,
the dune ride and sunset, on watching sunset from the bluff and dinner out at one of the restaurants that I love or
right,
so, it's kinda like we come up with our list of the things that we really wanna do, but exactly knowing how it's gonna all fit together and what days it's gonna happen on,
right.
don't we don't know that.
No, they don't. Well, a
Mhm.
month after that, we went to Santa Fe. We went to Big Bend at the end of the year, and that
Yeah,
was the first time that you had ever spent any time in a rooftop tent.
rooftop
First
tent.
time you ever done that.
Yes.
We lived in the FJ pretty much the entire time,
Uh-huh.
where the time before that we hadn't. And so that was a little bit different experience for you when we cooked all of our own meals. There was not one single time that we ate out.
Mhm.
That time we had to get water. We had to find places to take showers. So that
Yes.
was a completely different experience. And then um, over spring break, we did a go explore trip. That's where I actually proposed, and
Yes.
then we got married in June. And right after we got married, we went on the longest trip probably that I've ever been on. It was about 5.5 weeks. It was almost 6 weeks, where we did 13 states and lived out of the FJ a lot of the times. Stayed in family homes, stayed in camping cabins, and
The
and we stayed
FJ.
actually stayed in a hotel one night. When we got kicked out of
Oh,
our
that's
campsite
right. Yes.
on
Yeah,
Lake
I
Superior.
forgot about that.
So that was another time where we kind of had a window of time, places that we wanted to go, and we really didn't have a plan of action, and we had to search each night for where we were going to stay. So we ended up staying in a really beautiful. Let's see, I've got a picture of it here. We stayed in a vineyard,
Mhm.
um,
Was
and
gorgeous.
we found that on Hip Camp. That was neat.
Mhm.
We stayed in your family's house up in
Mhm.
Michigan. We stayed right on Lake Michigan underneath the Mackinac Bridge, which you can see here. That was one of the
Yep,
most
in the
beautiful sights that we had. And so we lived out of the FJ. Everything that we had carried with us for almost a month and a half, we had in that small vehicle. And so we were having to go to grocery stores and restock. We were having to
Mhm.
find water, potable water or filter water. We were cooking most of our meals again, but we one thing that we did on that trip that I really enjoyed was that we bought a lot of local foods
Mhm.
that were local to the areas that we were in. We got to eat
Yeah.
pasties, we got to eat whitefish, we got to eat
Did
a
a
lot of
lot of
different
fresh
things.
fruits and
Fresh fruits. We had
farmers
probably
markets. Stopped by a
farmers
lot of
markets,
farmers
Amish markets. We
markets.
had probably one of the best sandwiches I've ever had in my life at an Amish
Mhm.
market in the middle of nowhere. And you just happened to see the sign on the side of the road, and we stopped and actually
Mhm.
bought a few things there.
Yeah, it's
So
delicious. I think we bought some fried pies.
fried pies. I think I bought one of every fried pie they had because while I was standing there, they came out with them and they were fresh, and I'm like, I gotta have them
Mhm.
all. And so that was really fun. So uh, between all those long trips and the short trips, going to you've been to more Expo, you've been to Rendezvous,
Mhm.
you've been to some of the shows now. and you've done quite a few of the weekend getaways that we've had. So, um, tell me what, tell me your perspective from the beginning. You know, when I told you, okay, I I live in my car. So when I go, what do you do? What do you do for a hobby? Well, I live in my car and I go to the middle of nowhere. I live in my car. Tell me about what you thought it would be like, and then the actuality of it, and how different that was.
Um, okay. What I thought what I thought it was. I had a lot of questions of like, what makes overlanding overlanding? How is overlanding different from off-roading? How is it different from camping? Like what is what you do? How is it different? I remember one of our first dates was to the cheese store in like outside Hot Springs, I guess in Hot Springs Village.
Hmm.
And that's one of the first times I was like, "Oh, I could love this," because we were able to go in and buy every single kind of cheese that we wanted without any worry, and you just came and put it in the fridge in the FJ. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I think I love having a fridge. Like, this is amazing."
Mm. Yeah, I
But
think you've
I
already told me that we can't go anywhere without a fridge anymore. It's too
yeah,
convenient. So yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
totally
been
get that.
I love that. I love that I love not having to be married to eating out all the time when you travel. That's something that I love eating out, don't get me wrong. I love a restaurant. I love trying all the local foods. I love trying the local places, highbrow, lowbrow, in between brow, whatever. I love it. I'm the girl like
Unibrow.
I drive Joey crazy because whenever we get to a new place, I'm like, "Ooh, I wanna try all the things," and so I'll
Yeah,
order way more food
way
than
too.
2 people can ever eat because I want all the taste. So don't get me wrong, I love a good restaurant, but when you travel and eating out every single meal becomes ridiculously expensive, but then it makes it not quite as special, you know what I mean? It can
Mm,
not as special, and so I love the opportunity to cook and have that food with us, or not even cook, but just picnic. That's one of our favorite things to do
mm,
is just picnic, get some neat cured meats, get some neat cheeses, have some crackers, pimento cheese, chicken salad, that kind of stuff, olives and grapes, and just have all the nibblies. So I mean, I that part of overlanding, I think was the first part that I fell in love with. Just the fridge and that the way that you were able to have food and yet still cook. Because and feel really connected to your food and connected to your place and a way beyond just eating restaurants, but actually going to their
mm,
markets and buying your groceries and getting to know a community that way. I love that. I fell in love, I love the rooftop tent. I love the convenience of it that wherever we can park, we know that we have if we can fit our FJ there, we can fit the car there, then we know that we've got a spot to stay the night. Love that part. So I think, but I don't think I realized at the beginning how much I was going to love it. I thought I think my impression of it at the beginning was like driving in really rugged areas, just really rugged roads that, you beat the crap out of your car. And then when you got to middle of nowhere, okay, here we are, let's set up camp. And yes, that some nights and some days are like that, but it's not
mm.
always like that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think like when I was thinking about things that I love the exploring aspect. I love that any place you can become more a part of and really you know, get to see what life is like there. The part that I don't necessarily want to do is I don't want to drive all day every day.
Mm,
Like when we're out exploring, like, you know, that's one thing I really like when we plan trips is thinking about how many hours, we want to spend in the car that day and make it, it's not just like exhausting driving, 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 and then setting
yeah.
up tents, setting up camp at night. I like I like switching it up. I like having, the days where some days we might be in town exploring, some days we're doing a hike where we're being active, and then other days we're driving through a national forest or or we're enjoying all the other like canoeing and fishing.
Yeah.
That's me with my pike. I was very proud of that pike.
You were holding on that thing for dear life.
I was because
It
I didn't
looks
want.
like you're about to squeeze it to death. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I
You,
think those
I
teeth were
caught a
scared.
fish. I caught a fish.
I was proud of
I
that
love that.
fish.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love the exploring. I love that aspect of it. I don't want to drive it. I don't want every day though to just be drive, 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 and
Mm,
then finally get to a spot and set up your camp late at night. Because part of the joy is exploring the areas that you're in beyond just the car, but getting out, walking, getting out, seeing the museum, seeing the downtown, walking to the lighthouse, whatever it is, doing the hike. And then getting to camp early enough where you actually can enjoy and sit in set your chair up. Think about what you're going to
mm.
make for supper that night. Set your tent up, get settled, reflect on the day and not just and yeah. So I like that.
Yeah, well, we have, when we're at home, and we've been stuck at home probably more in the last month than we have, probably since we've been together. And we've watched a lot of TV. We've watched a lot
Mhm.
of YouTube. We've watched some overland YouTubers, and there are those out there that okay, we've only got 2 weeks. We've got to see as much as possible in 2 weeks, and so they're driving 200-300 miles a day, not setting up camp till late at night. It's dark. A lot of times they're getting to a place where somebody already is, and they have to go find another place. And that's part of it. Not
Yeah.
getting to a place that you want to get. I mean, we experienced that this past weekend. We had this place in mind that I wanted to go. It's a place I'd always wanted to camp. And we got there. I actually got out and walked to the top of the hill to see if anybody was there. Nobody was there. We got there. We hadn't been there 2 minutes, and then three
Mhm.
Jeeps rolled
Crazy
in,
pulling.
and they were like, "Oh, we were going to camp here. We'll find another place." And I
And we
said, "That's fine."
told them, we were like, "No, you guys, there's plenty of room." And they're like, "No, no, no."
Right, and that's just part of it. You get
Yeah.
a destination in mind, and somebody may be there, and it's getting worse and worse all the time because there's more and more people
Mm.
out there that you're having to compete with to get the spots. But the schedule, I'm with you. I wanna make it a little more relaxed, take a little more time, or cover as a little less area. Now I understand that the YouTubers out there, they have to put the videos out and they have to cover a lot of stuff and get a lot of video. I don't do a lot of YouTube, so that's not on me. Um, so I don't feel that pressure of having to put out 2 videos a week and having to cover 500 miles in 2 days and get all the footage and stuff like that. So I know it's different for them than it is for us, but I'm with you. I like a little more laid back. That's why I do this, to get away, to relax. This weekend, you spent a lot of time in your chair with your Kindle by the river, and or in in the clam with the fire pit because it was so stinking cold you couldn't go outside. So
Yeah.
you take a time to relax and unwind, and that's kind of why we do this.
Yeah. And I don't ever wanna be setting up camp is one of those things that it's part of just overlanding. I like having the setup be as simple as possible, but I don't ever wanna be so tired from what we've done that day that I resent setting up camp.
Hmm.
Like that it's something, like it's where you're exhausted, where you're tired, where you just want to get in bed, where you're frustrated. And so I don't ever want to feel those feelings about setting up
Yeah,
camp. And I
yeah,
think one way to protect against that is just making sure that we're not that there's still some left in the reserve when we start
yeah,
making when we
yeah.
stop rather than being completely done when we stop.
Yeah. Plus, my favorite time of the day is about an hour or two before the sun goes down. So I want to be done. I want to have dinner ready, cooked. I want to be sitting in my chair. I want to be enjoying that time. And
Mhm.
that's perfect. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I like and what I like to do as well. So we go well together in that aspect.
Yeah.
Did you think that the different things that you like to do, the other activities such as hiking or paddleboarding or swimming, did you think that they would mesh so well with overlanding?
Yeah, I didn't ever I did never have a problem with the outdoorsy stuff, like worrying about the hiking and the paddleboarding and all that, because I knew we were going to be that. The part that I was wondering how it was going to work out was um the going through the towns, like
Mm,
going through old Santa Fe, going through, Terlingua, that stuff. I didn't realize that I thought that was gonna be something that, oh, we do that, but just be on a different trip. And I
yeah,
love how you plan trips to where it all goes together.
yeah,
It's, we will spend several days, like, we might be in the park at Big Bend for days, very remote, on River
mm,
Road,
mm,
camping, backpacking, and then we'll come out and, so we may be 3 or 4 days we're in the park, and then we'll come out and be like, "Oh, let's go see Terlingua. Let's
mm,
go do something. Let's
yeah,
go look at the ghost town and the graveyards, and let's go look at the goat mayor." And,
yeah,
I like the switch up, that I like that. So that part of me where I like the town, like, I love the outdoorsy stuff. I love the hiking. That is something that's always been important to me. But I love the museums, and I love the, seeing the other things too. I love how it goes together.
yeah. Me too. Thank you for being on here, Richard. Thousand Trails and More. Give him a follow. He's doing a good thing out there. So, want to give him a shout out and thank you for joining us on the show, Richard. Appreciate you being here. When I first started watching YouTube, gosh, long time ago, with Lifestyle Overland, it was one of the things that I really had a hard time putting my head around because when I thought of overlanding, and this was back when everybody was trying to define what it was. It's pretty much just vehicle based camping, but everybody was trying to put words on it and attach words to it to give it meaning, and trying to make it be this or that when it was pretty much just an all encompassing uh, way of life. And we were watching Lifestyle Overland. If you watch their videos way back in the day, they would go on trails and they would end up in this little town, and they would walk through the town and they would show the history of the town, tell the history, and they would see all the cool things in the town, and then they would stop at a little roadside cafe and eat and show their food and all the people that they talked to and different things like that. And I kept thinking in the beginning, I had no idea that this was part of overlanding. This doesn't make any sense to me. These are the most popular people that are out there. They have more followers than anybody, and so you would think if they're the most popular out there, they have the most followers than anybody, then they're really setting the definition of what overlanding is. And it's not just going out there and doing, class 3 or rapids, or going over the toughest rock trails anywhere or anything like that, and going back in the middle of nowhere and never seeing another person for 7 days. No, they're actually coming out into towns and exploring towns, and they were teaching their daughter about the history of these places, and the value that these little towns had, and seeing all the little things that they had to offer. And that was really tough for me to put my mind around in the beginning, and really um, accept that, I guess you might say. But now that I've done it, it's something that I love, even more than I ever thought I would. Because when before we went to Santa Fe, I researched everything to the nth degree. I researched all the food, the
Mhm.
coffee, the national parks that were around there, the little towns. We went up to, what's the name of the little
Chimayu?
Chimayu, and saw the history of the churches there. We went downtown. We went to uh, the what was the name of that
There's
cafe?
Carson National Forest. Oh, the Tin Cup Cafe? No.
It was the Tune Up, the Tune Up
Yeah.
Cafe, and we actually liked the Tune Up Cafe so much that we went there more than once, because it was local New Mexican food. We actually went to the grocery store 3 times to make sure we got enough green chilies and chicharrones and everything. So it was, spending time in the city was fun for me.
Mhm.
It was really cool. So Richard chimes in. Love coming off the hiking, kayaking, and off-road trips to hole in the wall restaurant and small town best
Exactly.
foods ever. That's
So true.
true, so true. And you'll end up putting that on your map. You'll end up making a waypoint on your map for little small towns with good places to eat that you'll want to go back to, just like you do the good campsites. So,
Oh, yeah. Okay, that just reminds me. So, we just went camping at Woolham this last weekend with Old Man Fish Camp, and
mhm.
and then so right in the town, there's that gas station, Haskell's Place, and
uh,
so
in St.
it's
Joe.
in St. Joe, and it's so funny because the first time not the first time we camped at Woolham, but one of the times we camped at Woolham, we just happened to go kayaking on the Buffalo with Matt McClellan on that trip.
Mhm.
And then while we hadn't taken any snacks other than water with us, and we just plowed down the river. I mean, everybody else was stopping to pull off and eat their lunch and go swimming, and we were like, "Nope, we didn't bring any food. Let's go." And both of us on that trip were like, "Oh, I wish we had a ham and cheese sandwich. That sounds so good. Oh, we'd love a ham and cheese sandwich." And so we get in the car, we go up the road, and what do they sell at that gas station but one of the best hot ham
The
and cheese
best,
sandwiches
the
you can
best, absolute
imagine.
best.
And so now it's become our thing whenever we leave Woolham, we stop off, either coming or going, we'll stop off and usually we'll split a hot ham and cheese sandwich
Yeah, we
at
did
one of those little
on
hole in the
Sunday.
walls.
We actually had to beat the church crowd there on Sunday coming out because we wanted
Yeah.
a hot ham and cheese sandwich. It's
I
funny, we've done that 3 times now, and we actually stopped on the way in to get one on Friday, but they had already shut the grill down, so we had to
yeah,
catch one on the way out.
on the way back. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's definitely a part of who we are.
Yeah.
And just a little tidbit of information, if you're listening out there, there's a website that you can go to called Diners, Drive-Ins,
And
Dives,
dives.
Locations.com. So it's Diners, Drive-Ins, Dives, Locations.com, and it will tell you, or you look up by state, and it will tell you everything in the state. And that's how we found the Tune Up Cafe. And I had a list. So we had got past Amarillo, and I handed her the list. I said, "We're going to be there in about an hour and a half. It'll be lunchtime. Where do you want to go?" And that's where we picked that we wanted to go. And then about 3 days later, we went back because it was so good. So diners, drive-ins, dives, locations.com. You can search by state if you're going to travel. I will be looking at that for our summer trip that we have coming up to the
I'm so
Northeast,
excited.
so we
Yes.
can get that. We've actually been watching a lot of videos on that too. So,
Mhm.
um, what about? Tell me about the people that you've met and the friends that you've made through this, through traveling, going to different places, doing different things, and is that really what you expected from doing this?
Well, um, I mean, I have appreciated it so much because when we were dating and we were overlanding, like going weekends to camp outs, and there we go. That's Bryce Noonan, Danielle's husband.
Hmm.
He is such a cool guy.
Yeah,
Danielle and Bryce are just such a neat couple. I love spending time
you
with
hit it
them.
off because y'all are both scientists, science teachers.
Science
So
teachers.
yeah,
He's college, and I was at that time was high school. I'm now middle school, and
yeah.
who, but
We
I
won't get
think
into that.
I know I I appreciated it so much because it gave me moving to Conway after getting married. So I moved 2.5 hours away, and so it's
Mm,
not, I mean, I'm so blessed that I'm still, able to keep in touch with friends and family and still very connected. But I just really appreciated it because your involvement in that community, I had so many opportunities to get to know these really, really neat people that we're going to continue to be friends after our marriage. It was just
mm,
really neat to be able to start those and develop those friendships prior to our marriage. And I think it made the transition down here to moving to Conway so much easier.
yeah.
So, like that I already had just a lot of, relationships here in place that getting to know people in this area that just happened, to be part of the overlanding community and not live far from us, but also people that were in the overlanding community that were away from us that we were already seeing many weekends, throughout the year because of the events that we go to and because of and not necessarily just events, but when we're gonna hit the outdoors for a weekend, we'll usually call up some of them and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Anybody want to join us?"
Yeah.
So I think I just appreciate the relationships because it definitely made that transition down to Conway a lot easier because I already, had made a bunch of friends. Um, the people are part of it. They're the main reason that the overlanding experience is so neat, and so supportive. Like, I mean, I just, Tony and Arla and Chris and Amy and Bryce and Danielle and Karen, Matt, and gosh, I know I'm leaving people out, but that have just been so, just so fun to spend time with and get to know.
Yeah.
And that's when you at camp, that's what you do is you set up camp. And you may go off, I mean, even that day if you're off-roading or doing whatever adventure you're doing, you're with people. It's usually you're either communicating on your radios or maybe you're tagging along with somebody in their rig because you're not driving your own rig, you're with somebody. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. How and I look back over the people that I've met
Mm,
over the years, and it's incredible to see how lasting the friendships are and how tight the bonds are, and how we look forward to seeing each other. A lot of times we don't see each other 3 or 4 times a year, but and so those times are pretty special.
mhm.
Um, but
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
And that's the thing, like some of the events may feel kind of like like same old ish, and I'm not trying to knock any events. But like when you go to once you've gone to an expo and you walk around and you see all the booths and you realize, okay, that's what this is, and then that there's only so many times, and it's the people that make it so exciting to go to. It's not necessarily like, yeah, the products are neat. Of course, my husband's a gearhead, so he loves seeing all the things. But
Sorry.
it's the people that connecting with the people that make those expos and all that interesting. After
Yeah,
you've been to a few of them, it's the people
yeah,
that make you want to go back.
that's true. So when it comes to overlanding, when it comes to vehicle-based camping, you as a female,
Mhm.
um, what
I am a female.
would you, what would you, what do you say your needs are? What would you say that you need to be comfortable to have a good time, or what would you say that you would change
Oh. Okay, what do I
to
need to
make
be
it better?
comfortable?
Hmm.
Okay, what do I need to have comfortable to have a good time? I need I need a fridge.
Yeah.
I need I need things that are not difficult to put together that I can put together, but I need a chair where I can sit and relax and that's comfortable for me but not crazy to put together and not
Mhm.
and
Easy
then not
setup.
easy
Easy
setup.
setup. Yeah.
Yes. Um
Do you
I
feel that
need
our setup is pretty easy?
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, and I appreciate when I like knowing like what I can do. Like last time, like this last weekend when we were camping, I was like, let me put the clam up by myself because I want to know that I can do it. Like, because Joey, when he's so adept at everything and he'll put everything up to for camp really fast. And so there are sometimes when I'm like busy putting our chairs together and I turn around and like, voila, everything's up. And so I'm like, let me put the clam up this time by myself so that way I can know for sure that I can do it by myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, our setup is pretty easy, but let me think the things that I really need to be comfortable. I need um I need a comfortable mattress.
Mm.
Definitely need a comfortable mattress. I need a plate and then a comfortable bed where I can be um where I can be close to you and snuggle with you. I need a chair where I can sit and relax. I need some place where we can get warm. Like where it's if the weather's nuts, that we can get warm and dry and
Mm,
stay dry. I don't necessarily need I like some kind of special potty or anything like that. I'm pretty good at at making do with whatever's available. So it's not like I need a privacy tent or anything like that. Um I let me think, what else do I need? I need stuff that's not that I can do. Like I don't want stuff that's so big or so heavy that I can't figure out how to do it
yeah.
or that I can't put it together because it really is the kind of thing where if anything ever happened, if we were out camping and I needed to be the one that put it all up because of like something happened to you, I need to know that I could do that.
Hmm.
I need to be able to, yeah. I'm trying to think. I think I'm missing stuff that's important to me.
You've missed one thing. You need
What?
a way to keep warm when it's
Yes.
extremely cold. We were very
I
thankful for the diesel heater this past weekend,
yes.
for the fire pits, for the clam. Where place where we could go, where we could still
Yeah.
be outside and stay warm.
Yeah.
Um,
It
yeah.
is. That's one thing. If you at whether it's a diesel heater at night or whether it's making sure that the sleeping bag or whatever sleep system we have is rated to however cold it's going to be, being able to get warm is it's
Mm,
miserable. It is really miserable to spend a night outside when you cannot if your feet are freezing, if you can't get warm. And that's one thing that I've realized like once if it's cold outside, once the sun sets, unless you're in a completely enclosed like gazelle or clam or something like that where you don't have just a mesh door, but you're able to really capture the heat, unless you have a place like that that you can go, once the
mm,
sun sets, like yeah, like you have to have a really hot fire to really stave off some of the cold. And so once the fire go, it's really not that fun to try to stay warm. And
yeah.
so I'm more likely to try to go find my bed and read in bed than I am to try to stay for a couple of hours freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
True.
uh,
True.
it's
We definitely experienced that this past weekend when Friday night and most of the day Saturday, I don't think it ever got above freezing, and so it was just miserable to go outside with the wind, and
it was so
and
windy.
so they had set up a little area inside a gazelle tent where there was like 8 of us sitting around in chairs just shooting the bull, around a propane fire pit, and they had brought so much propane. I think we went through 4 bottles while we were there, and you just sat there with your Kindle, and I think you said you read 3 books while we were there.
I
Um,
did.
so it was a nice place, and you even mentioned later that's the first time in a long time you've actually just got to sit down and read without having to do anything else. There was no cell service, there was
Nothing.
nothing to do except just sit there and relax. So
We did get up and go walking a couple times. Like I
we
was like,
did when the sun came out and it was bearable. I had my heated gloves on. I had 3 layers of jackets on, 2 layers of pants, and we bared it to get out.
yeah.
So yeah, it was
It's
something.
different when you have that's the thing about when you look at the weather thinking about a camping or overlanding weekend, and when you look at the weather and you think, "Oh, it's 50s." Well, it's different when you are do not have when it's 50s and you're leaving from your house, going out into it, and then gonna be coming back inside your house. 50s
Mm,
when you're out in it for 24 hours and you don't have a warm house to get to that
yeah.
you've got to figure out how you're gonna get warm. It's different. It's colder. You know,
Yes.
it does not feel the same. It does not feel the same when you've been
True. Very
in it
true.
for a while.
So if there was one, two, three, four, however many things that you could change about the experience, about what we do, how we set up, or where we go, or anything like that, what would your input on that be from the female perspective?
What I would do differently?
Yeah.
Um, I'm always about like, I don't want camp to take super long to set up. I don't want camp to take super long to break down either.
Mm-hmm.
If that's because especially if we're gonna be moving each and to a new location, or if we're camping in the FJ and we're going to be exploring, even if we go back to that same spot to camp that night, we still have to pack up the FJ so that way we
Hmm.
can do whatever trip we're going to do. Maybe we're driving to a trailhead, or maybe we're driving, like through a national forest, whatever it is. We have to pack up. And so it's not anything like changing. It's just that that's something I find is really important to me. I don't want to resent the camp experience. I don't want to resent the novelty of, you know, setting up camp, like the novelty of camping outside. And that can be something that interferes with the novelty or the enjoyment of it if it's too much, if it's too much. Um, I don't know. I think another thing that I think can be a pitfall of it is just the of the lifestyle is just the gear. The constant like looking at like, oh my gosh, like if we tried this or we can get this or we can like improve this or if we just had this thing, like that is never ending. It could
Hmm.
be never ending. And that can be really expensive. And then it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. Then the next thing you know, you've got a garage
Like
full
ours.
of that's full of stuff when in actuality, and it's just the constant like trying new things and tweaking, trying new things and tweaking,
Hmm.
trying new things and tweaking. And I think I tend to be a little bit simpler. In my pictures when I'm hiking, you'll notice that a lot of time I'm wearing my same gray fleece
Hmm.
that I've had for forever because I'm like, if it works, I usually will tend to keep it because keeping up with the Joneses is a really expensive hobby. Keeping up with the newest thing is a really expensive hobby. Keeping up with something that, yeah, this works, but this might work even better is a really expensive hobby. And so realizing, like, trying to be content with enough of what you've got rather than constantly like wanting more or like, oh, I'd be happier if I just had this.
Mm.
I think that that's something that's a real like I think that that's a challenge that to guard against,
I
because it's
think that's
really
probably
easy.
the toughest thing about this is the gear and the want to try to keep up, or to try to improve. That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons that Tony changed his setup quite a bit, was that when he and I would go out together, I would be done setting up, and he and Arla would be 30 minutes to an hour more, and he'd say, just go on, we still got a lot to do. And I was like, no, I can help you. And I would go over and help them finish up. And since then, he's changed up quite a bit, where he can pack up pretty quick. So it would be nice to have a place out there where you could try things out and take them out for a time or two, and say, oh, this is the bomb, or this is not what they said it was. It just takes too long, it's too big, it's too
Or
bulky.
yeah, it doesn't work for
It
us.
doesn't
Yeah.
work for us. It may work for somebody else, but it doesn't work for us. And then there's different applications, that we're going through now, because the FJ is pretty much completely done, and it's
Mhm.
exactly the way we want it. We actually have a trailer we can use, if we want to. But now we're taking a trip in the summer in the Subaru, and so we're trying to figure out how far do we want to go, how much stuff do we want to put on it, and we want to keep it simple. Do we want to outfit it? Do we want to? How comfortable do we want to be? What's the weather going to
Mhm.
be like? And can we just keep it simple and not have to put a whole bunch of money into another vehicle and then we'll hurt the fuel mileage, which is one of the main
Mhm.
reasons that we bought the car. And so I understand that people buy things, try them out, don't work, put them up for sale or whatever. And that's why we're seeing more and more things now on Facebook Marketplace and out there, because they've tried things they didn't like, because they go to a place like Rendezvous or More Expo, Overland the Americas, or whatever, Expo East, West, whatever, 15 expos that they have out there, and they see something. Oh, this is the latest and greatest thing. That's cool. But that may have been developed and put out by somebody that's in Australia, that does not have to deal with the weather or anything, or the environment or the people or the terrain or whatever that we have to deal with. They may have 6 kids, you may have none. You may have 6 kids, they may have none. You don't know how it's going to be. So It's a totally different thing, and you have to try it out for yourself. And it's a shame that we don't have places like that that will let you have a tryout before you send it back, because otherwise there would be a whole lot of gear sent back that people look at for the first time, think, "Oh man, that's cool," and then they get it, and you're like, "No, that's not practical. It's too big. It's too bulky. It's too heavy. Takes too long to set up, or whatever." So we got to go a different route.
Mhm.
And I actually have, you know, throughout the years, went through a lot of gear trying to. You're actually seeing the best part of it, here on the tail end of it, because at the beginning, I was pulling my hair out, trying to get things that first of all, I could afford, and second of all, that would fit in the whole scheme of things, trying things out, and then moving along to try to purchase other things that would be a little bit better or take less time.
Mhm.
Richard says, I try to purchase all of our gear that multitask for hiking or an overnight float trip plus overland camping trip. It's tough. And yeah, you're
It
right,
is.
Richard. There's so much gear. And when we went on our honeymoon trip, we had two inflatable kayaks with us, not kayaks, but paddleboards. And we had to actually put a box on top of the tent to be able to carry those because there wasn't room. And so yeah, we loved it. We used them. We had a great time. We used um, a canoe that was at one of the places we stayed at several different times, and I was glad we didn't have to carry a canoe because that would have been awful. But trying to carry all the stuff, and that's what we're leaning towards for the Subaru this summer, is buying a smaller tent, using our backpacking gear to sleep, and that way we don't have to carry another sleep pad, another um, way to stay comfortable or whatever. We can use our backpack and stuff. So we're throwing that out there and kind of bouncing that off of each other to try to keep it simple on this trip. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is trying to uh, use a smaller car. And when you do that, you have to multitask your gear. And so that's one of the things we're going through right now too.
Mhm.
Galen said he just finished phase one of a trailer build.
Oh, congratulations.
Can't wait to see that.
Exciting.
Galen's going to put a cool trailer out there. The trailer is a whole different aspect. When you pull the trailer, you can actually set up a base camp, and you only have to do it once, and you don't have to do it every single time.
Mhm.
And,
That's awesome.
it takes it to a whole different level.
I do. I did that was one thing I was so sad about, when we took the Subaru down to Big Bend, pulling the Tiger Moth, and we were so hopeful, and then the mileage went from 26 to 9, and
Yeah,
there went that dream,
yeah.
because it was just, like, the idea of, like, being able to base camp was so appealing, being able to leave everything set up at the camp and then jet off in the
Mm.
car, and that was wonderful, like, the trip down and the trip back, the gas mileage sucks, but actually being at Big Bend was fantastic.
Oh, once we got there, it was great.
It
Yeah,
was so
super
easy. We
good.
set up camp, and then we just zipped off every day to do,
Yeah,
what we wanted
yeah.
to do.
Well, I agree with you there. Being able to set up things, take things down in a easy manner. That's what I've been working toward for years and years and years. And I think we've got it down pretty that if we just take the FJ, we can have. I can have the whole camp set up by the time you put the chairs together, and I like that.
So
I
fast.
think that's perfect. It
He's
doesn't
like,
take
"Pop,
long at all.
pop."
Yeah,
Yeah,
pop, pop, fizz, fizz, odor,
there
loop.
we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
it's
And he
good.
can have dinner made, and he can have
And I can be started on dinner. I can't have dinner made by the time you get the chairs put together. So,
yeah.
uh, it's fun. It's fun. So,
It is.
planning our next trip is really fun. We've actually got several in the works. This coming weekend, we're going to be in Northwest Arkansas. We're going to the Polar Bear Camp out in Siloam,
Mhm.
and then in 2 weeks, we're going to be backpacking. The longest trip that we've done to date. It's
Mhm.
going to be Eagle Rock Loop. I think it's 26 miles. We're going to do it in three
Mhm.
days. It's one of the hardest loops, longest loop and toughest loop in Arkansas. So that's going to be fun. We'll have to get together and talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then over spring break, which is 2 weeks after that, we'll be backpacking for multiple days on the Ouachita Trail, and that's
Yeah.
going to be super fun. I'm excited about that, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
we'll get a lot of pictures, videos, and stuff to share that too.
Yeah.
So that'll
I
be
think
fun.
one of the things that's made overlanding though so good is that that just communicating with you with each other about what we want to get out of the trips and what we want to get out of our days, because it's just like with anything, like what just kind of calibrating what we want and making sure that we're talking about it, that we both
Mm,
have experiences that we will enjoy, that we're both feeling heard, and that we're both feeling like that the day has parts of it that are for us.
hmm
And don't get me wrong, 99% of the stuff that we want to do completely overlaps.
hmm
But I think when we like just thinking about the backpacking, like we've had to have that conversations like, okay, how many days, how many miles do you want to get done in a day? How many miles do I want to get?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The water levels. Exactly, Richard. Yeah.
yeah. That depends on if we go there or not. We may have to.
Mm-hmm.
Our backup plan is to do Buffalo River Trail. So if the water's too high down on Eagle Rock, we'll
Mm-hmm.
be doing the Buffalo River. So we're definitely watching that. And there's a couple other people that we're going with who's actually done it before. So that's going to be fun. I think
Yeah.
we've got a bunch of new gear to try out. It's going to be super neat and super cool. But the big trip this summer, we're planning on going up into the Northeast, up into Virginia, Vermont, Pennsylvania,
New Hampshire.
Maine, maybe Canada, and so um, that's the one we're going to take the Subaru on. And so we're probably going to do some camping cabins, probably do some hip camp stuff up there. If the weather's nice, we'll be staying in a tent, enjoying life out under the stars. And if it's raining, like it does a lot of times up there, we'll probably be finding some shelter. So just trying to plan that and figure out where we're going to go, what we're going to do, our time limit on when we have to be back, and things like that is kind of where we're at on stuff like that. We don't have an agenda so far. I like that. I'm listing some things that I want to do, and so we'll figure out what we're going to do, and we're also planning 2025 stuff already. So getting ready to do something across the pond, and I'm really excited about that. So
I-
that'll be cool to talk about and plan and think about and figure out what in the world we're going to do. But
Mhm.
it's been fun. It's been fun up to this point. I'm glad that you're not ready to quit me just yet.
No, of course not. My goodness, babe. I love it. I love our life together. I
Yeah,
love how everything's an adventure.
it
And I
is.
love going out with you and seeing all the stuff and doing all the things, and I love coming home.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
me too. Well, I want to thank you for being on here with me. The time has
Thank
flown
you.
by. We've talked about a lot, and I appreciate you giving us your perspective on everything that we've done and have coming up, and that was nice. Really
Well,
enjoyed
thank you
that.
for having me.
I want to thank Okie Overland, Logic Overland, Steadfast Overland, and Blackbeard Firestarters are coming on to sponsor the
Ooh.
show. Pretty excited
Ooh.
about that. If you need anything out there, Overland outdoor related, check out okie-overland.com. Some of the best guys that you'll ever meet, the best coffee you'll ever drink, Logic Overland, beard oils and everything you need from Steadfast Overland, and others. We appreciate y'all being here and sponsoring the show. Thank y'all for joining us. We'll be back same time, same channel next week. Until then, look out for number one. Don't step in
So
number
step on
two.
number 2.
We're out.
Bye.